to say, you see mete, so they have mete here.
But everyone has a different story to tell. Shell, which says it's losing its
the Tampa market. Spiral rise.
Country in Northeast Africa, precisely on the horn of Africa.
But everyone has a different story to tell. Shell, which says it's losing its
the Tampa market. Spiral rise.
Country in Northeast Africa, precisely on the horn of Africa.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry for being late. I think I was like 3 minutes late. I'm having a couple of issues this morning, so I needed to clear it out and to fix it up. So I just did that. Once again, I just want to welcome you all to the discussion as we normally do on every Friday. Once again, my name is Frank. This is your host from the Revolutionary Repatriation Educational Lecture Series on the WCC channel. And before I start, I just want to thank you all for, again, as usual, checking on our website, reading our weekly article or our real articles being published out there, and also taking your time to send your donation, your support, and purchasing our merchandise or our t-shirts as well, and our hoodie. And thank you for being part of our Patreon, and thank you for building this African family, and where we can come and learn about Africa and African solutions. Today's topic is actually called the UK Rwanda racist immigration policies. The UK Rwanda racist immigration policies. But before that, that will be the last topic actually. I'm going to talk about something that I came across that I want to speak about. Maybe I may not speak about it again. So once it came in mind and it came to my attention that it is something that we need to discuss or talk about, how to bring it out. I want to preach this morning. Yeah, I want to preach this morning, okay? And that will be the first discussion. But however, being that I want to preach, I am not a preacher. I am not a bishop. I am not a pastor. I am not a deacon, none of those things. And in fact, I do not have certificate in preaching or certificate in preaching, okay? I am just a Pan-Africanist as well. A Pan-Africanist and an Africanist. African, sorry. So I want to preach this morning something that I came across, all right? So let me put it out, and then we can go about it. So that will be the first topic here that we're going to talk about. I just want to preach, this morning for real. And I think that will be one of the greatest words, that African will ever hear. But my only preaching is going to be revolutionary, okay? So let's see here. It's not here. What? All right. All right. So what I'm going to talk about first in this education is a letter from Leopold. And, to be specific, I would say King Leopold the second of Belgium. So it was a letter. Okay. So this is just to explain to some of my Christian brothers and sisters. I'm sorry if it hurts you, but again, this channel is called the Revolutionary Repatriation Educational Lecture Series. Okay. We are also there to decolonize, the mind, and so these are all part of decolonization. Okay. So when we're talking about decolonization or decolonizing the mind, this is one area that nobody want to talk about. When you talk about Christianity or when you try to talk about the Bible, right? And it upsets certain people. But that's what we love to do. We like to upset people, and we will keep doing it as long as it is the right thing to do. Now, this was a letter from King Leopold II of Belgium. So the letter says, letter from King Leopold II of Belgium to colonial missionary in 1883. Colonial missionary in 1883. So let's read here. So we're not going to waste time. Let's read here, okay? Now, Reverend Father and dear compatriot, this is King Leopold speaking. Reverend Father and dear compatriot, the task that is given to fulfill is very delicate and require much tax. You will go certainly to evangelize, but your evangelizing must inspire above all Belgian interest. Your evangelism must inspire above all Belgian interest. Not African interest. Listen to this. Not African interest. Not the so-called colonial Jesus interest, or how they call it. It should be in the interest of Belgium and in the interest of the so-called colonial Jesus interest. Not in the interest of the principle of the Most High, the principle of the Creator, but in the interest of the colonizer, in the interest of Belgian interest, in the interest of the colonial Jesus interest, the 1600 Jesus interest. Okay, that is what it's trying to say here. But you can evangelize, but your evangelization must inspire above all Belgian interest. Your principal objective in our mission in the Congo is never to teach the nigger to know God. Your principal objective in our mission in the Congo is never to teach the nigger to know God. This they know already. What that means, this they know already. Your principal objective in our mission in the Congo is never to teach the nigger to know God. This they know already. What does that mean in the first place to African? Belgium, this is 1883, okay? So Belgium, or King Leopold, to be specific, I don't like to call him king, but I am speaking, I'm preaching, I will specify it. King Leopold at this time was telling the missionary, the so-called missionary, they were sending to Africa, that they already know God. So I wonder Why will African sit even up to today and do not want to talk about their culture? What King Leopold was trying to say here, or what he was saying here in this letter, was they already know God. They already know the moral standard of God. In a nutshell, King Leopold was telling the missionary, we learn about God through African. Before 1888 or 1883, when he wrote these things, European was already on the African continent, so-called. In fact, it was there because we talk about slavery in the 1600s, right? So it was already there. So they saw that Africans were already practicing God. They were practicing some level of spirituality. Okay? So he was telling the missionary, do not go there and speak to them about God. They already know who God is. In a nutshell, he was telling the missionary, African told European about God. They learned about God from African people. They wrote about God. They wrote the Bible. They wrote what human nature is from African perspective. They wrote the Bible from African perspective. So do not go there and want to tell about morality. Let's continue here. They speak. This is Leopold talking. They speak and submit to a Mungu, one in Zibi, one in Zekoba, and what else? I don't know. So he was telling them they have a way of communication. They have God that there's total, and these guys listen to them. These guys work because they believe in them. That was King Leopold. Let's continue here. And he went as far as saying, they know that to kill, that's King Leopold talking. They know that to kill, to sleep with someone else's wife, to lie, and to insult is bad. Now, this is King Leopold talking to the missionary that these are African belief, these are African norms, right? These are that are things African practice. African know that you cannot sleep with your neighbor's wife, that it is in the Bible. So that means all these things that in the Bible, it came from an African perspective. So listen, folks, just because someone rewrite or rewrote your story, that doesn't mean they are the original people of that story. The only thing they did was they did not give the credit to the African people when they rewrote African story and make it their story. When they rewrote the African belief and make it their belief, when they rewrote the African Bible and make it their Bible. So all these things are in the Bible. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not sleep with a neighbor's wife. Thou shalt not sleep with somebody's wife. Thou shalt not lie. Thou shalt not insult your elderly. Respect your elderly so that your day may be long on earth. All those things are in the African belief, in the African perspective, in the African traditional practices. So they took all those things and rewrote it in their book and then brought it back to us. So Leopold was telling the missionary, don't go there and start preaching these things about them because they already know. Don't go there and tell them thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not sleep with somebody's wife. Thou shalt not insult. Thou shalt not steal. They already know these things. These things are part of their culture outbreaking. Do not preach it. Listen today. Let's continue again. So when folks, even African, look down on their own traditional practices, look down on their own belief, it's because they do not know these things. And that is why we want to decolonize the mind. When we talk about decolonization, these are all part of the process of decolonizations. Because somebody rewrote your story into their perspective and then brought it back to you and says to you, your heart is wrong and our is right. And once you agree to it, it put them in a position of being the one to always judge what is right and what is wrong. Let's continue here. He also went as far as saying, have courage to admit it. Have courage to admit it. You are not going to teach them what they know already. That's King Leopold talking here. You are not going to teach them what they know already. Your essential role is to facilitate the tasks of administrator and industrial, which means you will go to interpret the gospel in the way it will be best to protect your interest in that part of the world. Let me read it again. Maybe you did not get me. This is a letter from King Leopold II of Belgium to the colonial missionary in 1883. The colonial missionary in 1883. That is why I do not believe in a so-called missionary, the Western missionary going to Africa even up to today. I do not believe in it, because at the end of the day, they are going to preach their agenda. They are not going to preach African agenda or anything that will be in the interest of the African people. They are going to preach an agenda that will be in their interest. They are going to pour you in a mental state where you can't think for yourself. They are going to subject your mind in a way that you will always be. Yes, sir. You will be an obedient element to them. So that's why he said, I'm going to read it again. Have courage to admit it. You are not going to teach them what they already know. Your essential role is to facilitate the tasks of administrator and industrial, which means you will go to interpret the gospel. That means you will go to interpret what they already know, but you will interpret it. You will interpret it in our interest, in our way that we want them, in our understanding. You will interpret the gospel in the way it will best be. You will interpret the gospel in the way it will be the best to protect your interest in that part of the world. Listen to what he said here. For these things, you have to keep watch on administering our salvage from the richness that is planted in their own ground in Africa now. To avoid that, they get interested in it and make your murderous competition and dreams one day to overthrow you. Now, he was saying here, teach them in a way that they will never ever have the mindset of dreaming to overthrow you, of dreaming to ill-treat you, of dreaming to come against you, to realize what you have done to them. Listen to what he said. Let's continue here. He said, your knowledge of the gospel will allow you to find texts ordering and encouraging your follower to love poverty. This is King Leopold. This is a letter that King Leopold wrote. And this is a teaching that King Leopold of Belgium, and listen to this, folks. We're just talking about King Leopold, right? But this is what exactly all the colonial masters did. All of them, they did this. Great Britain did this to all of their colonies. So they all took the same model. Even Washington, D.C., the United States did this in Liberia. All the colonial masters, to every colony that they had. They did the same thing. So if you do research, this is not just King Leopold. All the colonial masters, this is what they did exactly to subjugate African people. Now, your knowledge of the gospel will allow you to find text ordering and encouraging your followers to love poverty. What he was trying to tell them is that study what we gave you, study the Bible and able to interpret it, because they already, what we have in the Bible here, they already know it. All we did was we just changed things around to fit to our narrative. That's what they did. They changed words around. They paraphrased things around. That's what they did. And that's why Leopold was studying the missionary. You have to study the Bible to be well knowledgeable of it. And once you are knowledgeable of it, you will preach it that even your follower will follow you. Even if you make them to live in poverty. Let me read that again. Your knowledge of the gospel will allow you to find text. Your knowledge of the gospel will allow you to find text. That means will allow you to be able to interpret it. Will allow you to be very well articulated in what you want to talk about to our perspective. And encourage it. And when that happens, it will encourage your follower to love poverty. Because the aim of these people is to make African people to live in poverty. That's the only way they will continue to exploit African people. Folks, why did I bring these things out? Because the underlying condition of Africa today are still going on to these, some of these practices and letters and these things we see around. Mind you, these people they still have these things and they read these things. They read these things. Missionary on the African continent, they are not going to preach about equal rights, mutual benefit. They are there to preach what will favor them. They are there to preach what will make them look superior, no matter what. That is what they are there for. And your follower will begin to love you even if they live in poverty. Because you know what? I don't want to say it. Let's read it. I don't want to go ahead of me, okay? Now, he went as far as saying, and they will encourage your follower to love poverty command. He said, like, happy as the poor, because they will inherit heaven. And it is very difficult for the rich to enter the kingdom of God. Now, first of all, they are the people. That's why I said I want to preach this morning. I am not a preacher. I don't have a certificate. I am not a deacon. I am not a pastor. I am a Pan-Africanist. And I'm here to preach this morning. Okay? This is not Sunday. The Christians say they go to church on Sunday. This is Friday. Revolutionary people, we speak at any time we want to speak. Now, first of all, this is not even in the Bible. They put this in the Bible. This is not in African tradition. When they went in Africa, when they start learning about African tradition, and then they learn it, and then begin to narrate it, put it in a Bible, right? They wrote it with favor then. For the African tradition, we don't speak this kind of ill. What we speak is equality. What we speak about mutual benefit. We speak about humanity. We speak about equal right. We speak about nobody treating their friend regardless of your origin, of your ethnicity, or your background. We speak about these things. All these things are moral law in the African tradition. So that is why King Leopold said, when you go there, do not go and preach these things. What we want you to preach is what we have, what we already put in the Bible here. That's why you will preach. But let me let you know, let me read this again. Like, happiest are the poor, because they will inherit the heaven. And this is what sometimes when I see African people talking about my riches are in heaven. Your riches are not in heaven. Your riches are here. First of all, if God, if the creator, let's speak, we preaching. If the creator wanted your riches to be in heaven, your creator was never going to make the African continent to be the richest continent in the world. The creator If the Creator wanted your riches to be in heaven, why would He want to bless your continent? Day in, day out, the richest continent. Why would God bless your continent that you live in if He wanted your riches to be in heaven? God put those things there so that you cannot die poor here, so that you cannot be committing adultery, so that you cannot be committing sin, so that you cannot be committing corruption against your people. God put those things there so that you cannot oppress your people. That's why God gave you all those riches on the African continent, so that your people will be able to live a better life and live like a human being among one another and interact among one another. That's why God put those things there. God did not put them there for somebody to come and oppress you and corrupt you and live in starvation while their country are booming through what God gave you. I'm preaching this morning. Like I said, I'm not a pastor, but I want to preach. If God wanted your riches to be in heaven, God was not going to make the African continent rich or the richest continent in the world. God was not going to bless that continent. God did not bless the African continent for another person to come and exploit the African continent. And then the African people, before they can inherit their resources, have to run and go to Europe and America and the Western world to go inherit what they couldn't inherit on the African continent. Why did God bless the African continent? And these things have stuck in the mind of African people. It better I die poor, and then when I go heaven, my riches are in heaven. Then just go commit some suicide and die so that you can go quick. Then to sit down on earth and suffer, and then be praying to God that, God, I just want to die. God will not kill you like that. That is why God said, for the lack of knowledge, my people perish. Because He's right. For the lack of knowledge, my people perish. Because God will not bless your African continent, and then you tell Him, no, God, let me suffer on earth, and then when I come to you, my riches will be there. And that's why God said, you will perish because of lack of knowledge. Why do you think I bless your continent? Why do you think I give abundant resources to your continent? Why do you think your continent, since the 1600s, your continent has been looted? But yet then stay. Resources cannot even finish. New type of resources are being discovered whenever there are improvement in technology. That is what God is telling you. I did not pour you on a part of the continent to starve, to suffer, to be malnourished, for somebody to come and oppress you. I did not put you on that continent to make you the richest continent in the world for somebody to look down on you. I am preaching this morning. So I do not want to see any African telling another African, your riches is in heaven. Your inheritance is in heaven. Everyone inheritance is in heaven. That is why when you're going, you, according to the Christian faith, now I put it that way. Even if you die poor, you will still give account of why you die poor. Because God will tell you, the Creator will tell you, why did you allow yourself to die poor when I gave you all those resources? Why do you think I gave you those resources? Why do you think I put you on the African continent? God will judge you for that. Say you want us to preach. God will tell you your inheritance is not here. What did you lie to my people say? It's better you die poor, and then when you go to heaven, you will claim your inheritance. What did you lie to my people? You make my people to believe those lies, and they die in poverty. And thinking that I neglected them. How will I neglect them when I make the continent rich in everything? That almost everyone wants part of a piece of land that I pour you on. Why did you lie to my people? Making them to think that I abandoned them. Making them to think that I wanted specifically for them to be in slavery all the time. I put them in bondage. When the colonizer wrote those things and put in the Bible that only the Negro man will be slave from time to time, The Negro men will be honor people. Somebody will come and conquer them. And they continue to preach. And he said here, happiest are those, happier are the poor, because they will inherit the heaven. And it is very difficult for the rich to enter the kingdom of God. And that is why more Africans go by because of this. So it makes Africans afraid to be rich. Because they feel that when they're rich, they will not go to the kingdom of heaven. Because when they're rich, because in their mind, that's what the Creator say. When you rich, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. If that's what God wanted to do, God was never going to bless our continent and pour on our continent. If God truly wanted us to now go to heaven, God was never going to bless the African continent. He would have rather preferred blessing other continents. We have 7 continents. God would have rather preferred blessing those continents because God wants us to go to heaven. So He was going to make our continent poor, so that we can die in poverty and go to heaven. So at this point of time, what they put here, it makes African people. That's why you don't see African people competing for their resources. That's why you don't see African people speaking for their resources. Because in their mind, when you being rich is bad. Being rich is not good. Being rich, we're taking far away from God. We're taking far away from the Creator, and you will not go to heaven. And African people want to go to heaven. The God that a white man created that they have never seen, they want to go there. The same man I told you that it will be difficult for the rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. But this man is fighting every 24/7 to become rich. Even if he's billionaire or she's billionaire, she feel that our money is still small. He is still fighting to add to that $1 billion. So the same man that brought the Bible to you, he does not want to go to heaven, right? Does not want to go to God. So that we can lead them to manipulate us to loot our resources. And that is why, folks, we have to be careful. And that is what this channel is about. It's called the Revolutionary Repatriation Educational Lecture Series. So don't come to me preaching your Bible that, the poor will inherit heaven. And it will be very difficult for the rich man to go to heaven. Don't bring that to us. If that was the case, the Creator was never going to bless the African continent. How can the Creator bless you? And then he said, no, I don't want a blessing, because if I take this blessing, I will now go to the Creator. I will now go to heaven. If there is even one. If there is even one. Because with this kind of practice, I can tell you, African, if you go to heaven and white people there, you will not go to that heaven. First of all, we're already feeling the heat, the discrimination, the racism, the hate. And then you go to heaven and go see these same people there. What do you think? You will not enter. You will see racism there. You will see hatefulness there. You will see discrimination there. If indeed the heaven exists where you have colonial Jesus there. Because it is the same colonial Jesus that enslaved African. It is the same colonial Jesus that divided the African continent and underdeveloped the African continent. So it is the same things you're going to meet in the colonial white heaven. Discrimination, hate. That's what you're going to see there. Let's continue here. He went as far as saying you have to detect from them and make them they respect everything which gave courage to affront us. This is King Leopold talking here. You have to detach from them and make them they respect everything which gave courage to affront us. You have to make them to think that their culture is bad. You have to make them to think that most of the problem of Africa is because of tribe or tribalism. you have to make them to think that the God they serve are lesser God. All these things, you have to make them to think that their languages are bad. But guess what? Do you know the power of language? The power of language. Do you know the power of language? If you communicate in your own language, you feel that spirit, you feel that worthness. Then when you communicate in somebody else's language, so that's what you see here. You have to make them to leave everything that encourage them, that bound them together to go against us. You have to detach from them and make them they respect everything which gave them a front, which gave them courage to affront us. Let's continue. He also went as far as saying, I make references to their mistakes system and their war fetish, welfare protections, which they pretend not to want to abandon. And you must do everything in your power to make it disappear. You must do everything in your power to make them disappear. Everything that have to do with their identity, make it disappear. Everything that have to do with them coming together, make it disappear. Everything that have to do with their culture, their strength, make it disappear. Everything that have to do with them seeing themselves as human beings, make it disappear. And when you read the Bible, everything in it, their Bible that they wrote is very discriminatory. And you see all of these things in it. Because it just made one set of race, the God, the angel, and then another set of race, the devil, the Satan. Is that the kind of Bible we want to read? Folks, if we are reading any spiritual Bible, anything that have to do with your spirit, to uplift your spirit, to uplift your humanity, it have to be the African culture, the African perspective. Let's continue here. Your action, he still speaking, your action will be directed. Your action will be directed essentially to the younger ones. This is King Leopold still speaking to the missionary. The people that were sending Africa to go conquer Africa. Your action will be directed essentially to the younger ones. For they won't revolt when the recommendation of the priest is contradictory to their parents' teaching. Your action will be directed essentially to the younger ones, for they won't revolt when the recommendation of the priest is contradictory to their parents' teachings. Make sure and stop all of these things. And then he went as far as saying that children have to learn to obey. African people have to learn to obey. That's the only thing you should instill in them. Obey. Obey your master. Isn't that what you see in the Bible? What was written by the colonizer? Obey your master. Obeyed, 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 obeyed. The children have to learn to obey what the missionary recommends. Now, they still go on to date, even with African leaders, with African authorities, even with the pastors, the African pastors, deaconess, all of them, they still obey their colonial master. They still obey the white master. They still obey the white missionary. Even African people, before they even go do missionary job, what they go preach in our village or in those villages are something that go against their culture or their identity. they still go on to preach the identity of the white man, the existence of the white man, the supremacy of the white man. That's why they still go preach there. So all of them, they are all part of the neo-colonialist system. So when we're speaking about neo-colonialism, we're not just talking about the leaders in power. We are also talking about these churches. They fight that in today's society, they can still preach to African people that you don't have to worry about the riches on earth. Your riches are in heaven. Die poor, it's better you die poor and go to heaven. But at the same time, these are the same pastors that will be telling African people to empty their wallets and their pocket. In fact, these African pastors these days, they have blessings according to amount of offerings or tithe you put in it. They will tell you $20 have a blessing separate, $50 blessing separate, $100 blessing separate, $150 blessing separate. These are all colonial mentality. How you going to tell your congregation they don't have to worry about being rich? It's better to be poor and go to heaven. Because a rich man will find it difficult to enter the kingdom of heaven. But you scrape in the pockets of your follower, of the congregation, making you rich. Say you know that dying poor will carry you heaven. Why are you begging for money? Why are you telling people to come and put $100? They got special blessing, special prayer, $20 special prayer. If it start from $20, your prayer is less. Your blessing is less. It's not about what you put from your heart. It's not about what you get from your heart. It's not about the amount you get that you want to give so that it can be blessing. But they tell you, no, bring $20 will bless you different. And $20 prayer is short. $20 blessing is short. $50 blessing is more higher. It's more longer. And then $100 blessing. So the more you give, the more blessing. Is that what God said? Teach them, even if they are poor, they will still have the courage to follow you. That is why King Leopold put here. Teach them, even those that live in poverty will still follow us. They won't have the courage to revolt against us. They won't have the courage to understand that we have conditioned their mind. I say I want to preach. I'm not a pastor. But revolutionary, we can preach. Let's continue what he said here. Let's continue here. He said that children have to learn to obey what the missionary recommend. Who is the father of their soul? Who is the father of their soul? Who is the father of their soul? Folks, that's what I said. If you believe in a white Jesus, you go to heaven, you will not go to heaven. You'll be discriminated. They will send you rebel on earth. They will send you rebel on earth. You will not enter the kingdom of heaven. If that's the case, all white people will go heaven. If that's the case, all white people will go to heaven. All Caucasian will go to heaven without being judged. All Westerner will go to heaven without being judged. The children have to learn to obey what the missionary recommend. Who is their father? Who is the father of their soul? So the white man is the father of African people's souls. The colonizer, listen to this, that put this clear. The colonizer are the father of white people's souls. The slaveholders are the father of white people's souls. The one who oppress African people, systematically oppressing African people, are the father of African people's souls. Let's continue here. King Leopold II of Belgium still speaking. He said here, you must singularly insist on their total submission and obedience. Is that what's happening? Is that what's still happening even up to today? As an African, you can leave from here to even go to Africa. You will even be respected as the way the white men will go there. They will still pay homage to the white men because of this kind of a teaching in the Bible that even our own folks still teach our people. to the extent that the white man will study from here and will be much treated, much looked at in a different way. Because they state the God they serve, they see the God in that picture. They see the resembling of that God they serve. These are all part of neo-colonialism. They see the resembling of the God they serve. So that is why they will pay more attention to the white man than their own brothers and sisters who travel back on the African continent. Look at what he said here. You must singularly insist on their total submission and obedience. Avoid developing the spirit in the school. Teach students to read and not to reasons. Teach students to read and not to reasons. Is that what happened? When anytime African people want to reasons, what happened? Kwame Nkrumah wanted to reasons. They assassinated him. Petro Lumumba wanted to reasons. They assassinated him. Thomas Sankara wanted to reasons. They assassinated him. Amilcar Cabral wanted to reasons. They assassinated him. Sekou Touré wanted to reasons from Guinea. They overthrew him. And Malcolm X wanted to reasons. Boom. Dr. King lately, he decided to reasons. They said no. Boom. Teach them to read, but they should not reasons. Because the moment they reasons, they will understand our missions. They will understand our agenda. Let them read what we give them. Let them read how we wanted to read. Let them read the textbooks that we gave them. He went as far as saying, dear Petri, I sum up the principle that you must apply. You will find many other books which will be given to you at the end of this conference. So these are conferences that they had even before going to the African continent. While they were dividing Africa among themselves, they were also recruiting people and teaching them according to how they interpreted the Bible, how they rewrote the Bible to fit to their evil deeds and plans. While they were dividing the continent, at the same time, they were training missionaries to come. They were training their army. Dear Petri, are some of the principles that you must apply. You will find many other books which will be given. Now, these many other books, what King Leopold was talking here, like I said, all these colonial masters, all of them had the same forms. So the British, they had their own. The American had their own. Portuguese had all of them had their own. So that's why he said here, you will find many other books which will be given to you at the end of these conferences. Evangelize the nigger so that they stay forever in submission to the white colonists. To the white colonists. So they never revolt against the restraint they are undergoing. Recite every day. Recite every day. What are some of the things that they're going to recite every day so that they can be familiar with it? Slave, obey your master. Like they put here. Train the children to obey. Obey your master. When your master slap you on your left cheeks, turn your right cheeks, and then your master slap you. Recite what we put in here. Do not worry about being rich. Your riches are in the kingdom of heaven. It's better you die poor to go to heaven than to be rich and not to go to heaven. Recite these things that we wrote here. These are the things you should go teach them. He said, so He said, what he said here, evangelize the nigger so that they stay forever in submission to the white colonists, so they never revolt against the restraint they are undergoing. Recite every day. Happier are those who are weeping, because the kingdom of God is for them. You see, this is what they do. And then you will see African people. Happiest are those who are weeping. That means it's better for you to weep. That means do not go against anybody that oppress you. Be happy, because you will go to heaven. Those that oppress you, they will not go to heaven. It's better you weep. When somebody oppress you, do not go against them. Weep so that you'll go heaven. When somebody oppress you, when somebody dehumanize you, weep so that you go heaven. Do not go against them, because heaven is waiting for you. How can heaven be waiting for you, and that is same heaven that wrote these things not to react? So do you believe when you go heaven and go and meet the same white people there? Because then that's the case now, right? All of these colonists will go heaven. All of these colonists, they will be in heaven waiting for you. And when you die, you're going to meet them there. They will say you by say, nigga, you're not supposed to be here. They will discriminate against you. If they can discriminate against you on earth, they will discriminate against you in heaven, if their heaven exists. So they brainwash people here. Happier are those who weep, because the kingdom of God is for them. If the kingdom of God was for African people, let's put it this way now, as they say here. God was never going to make the African continent the richest continent in the world with those abundant resources. God did not make us rich on the African continent to be poor. Because if that was the case, God wanted to go to heaven, he will not make the African continent rich. He will make the African continent poor so that we can go heaven. So that the richer he put on the continent, on earth for us, it will be in heaven waiting for us. African, we have to think. These colonial Bible are not Bible of the mind of African people. These colonial Bible are not Bible that we're supposed to read. Let's go back to our culture. There is no white man heaven. There is no European heaven. There is no Western heaven that's waiting for you. Just say that, be weeping, and when you die, you go to heaven. You die, you die. You just get in different forms. Let's continue here. Now, how did this person find this letter? Okay, let's continue here. We'll get to find out how this person found this letter. Let's continue here. Covered always the black by using the whip. Keep their women in 9 months of submission to work freely for us. This is King Leopold still talking. Keep their women in 9 months of submission to work freely for us. Force them to pay you in signs of recognition, goat, chicken, or egg every time you visit their villages. And make sure that nigger never become rich. Did you see that? Make sure that nigger never become rich. That is why they put those things in the Bible. Blessed are those who weep, for they will inherit the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who are poor, for they will inherit the kingdom of heaven. It's better to die poor and go to heaven than to be rich, because the rich man will not enter the kingdom of heaven. So they're the one who want to go to heaven, right? The same man that wrote the Bible and brought it to you and told you that when we the rich white people, we will not go to heaven. Does it make sense? The man that brought the gospel to you telling you we will not go heaven. We rich. We will not go heaven. For them to pay you in signs of recognition, gold, chicken, or egg every time you visit their villages, and make sure that nigger never become rich. Sing every day that it is impossible for the rich to enter heaven. You see that? Sing every day that it is impossible for the rich to enter heaven. If it is impossible for the rich to enter heaven, then why are you depriving African people for their riches and getting their riches, oppressing them for their natural resources and so forth? Those are the same people that brought the Bible to you. And see what it said here. God, the Creator, did not put these things in the Bible that thou poor, then you'll go heaven. You are not going to bless the African continent. Keep weeping. If somebody oppress you or enslave you or colonize you, don't do nothing. Just keep weeping because your days are in heaven. But the white man, if the white man is a God and the white man doing this to you, you will not go heaven. That's the reality. I'm preaching here. If the white man is a God, or if God is white, and God put these things in the Bible, and a white man treat you like this, and it's the same God that enslaved you because in fact the ship that carried African to Europe and it was called Jesus. Jesus. Which means African people will not go to heaven because you will still be discriminated against them. So they discriminate against you on earth here, they oppress you here, they dehumanize you here, you go heaven again, they're going to do it to you there, if one ever exists. Let's continue here. That is not to say we do not have a spiritual being. Africans believe in spirituality. But no white man is a God waiting in heaven for you. Think every day that it is impossible for the rich to enter heaven. And today, African people still be singing there as a song. Even the preacher man then still be singing there as a song. Because black pastor then now today use the same means to exploit their people. African deacons, pastors, they use the same mentality. They sing words, right? To exploit their people, to take money from their people. Even though most of them preach this thing, they don't bring the offering out to their white master. They take the offering, but they use it to exploit their people as well. Make them pay tax each week at Sunday Mass. Use their money suppose for the poor. Hold on 1 minute, folks. Hello. Okay. Sorry, folks. Sometimes some call you have to answer it. Now, yeah. So this is King Leopold still talking to the missionary. He said, use the money supposed for the poor to build flourishing business center. Is not what's still happening today? Is not what's still happening today? Even down to African pastors now. They take the money from the poor and build mansions for themselves and their family. Buy luxurious cars. Use the money supposed for the poor to build flourishing business centers. Institute a conventional system which allow you to be good detective. Don't say any black that has a different consciousness, contrary to what of the decision maker. They are the decision maker now. And this is what happened. Let me read this again. Use the money supposed for the poor to build flourishing business center. Now, institute a conventional system which allow you to be good detective. That is, the good detective is when you see the African men, you will understand that they have different mindsets, that it is not of your support or your interest. He said, don't see any black that has a different consciousness, contrary to that of the decision maker. This is what happened during independent Africa. Their consciousness was different from that of the colonial master. They assassinated them directly or indirectly, even up to presence. And one typical example is Muammar Gaddafi, because his consciousness was different from that of the neo-colonialist NATO institutions. Let's continue here. Teaching the nigger to forget their heroes. This is a letter, a conference that these people had since 1883. And still go on today. Teaching the nigger to forget their heroes and to adore only ours. Is this not going on today? This was written 1883. And this is still going on. How often do we talk about Dr. King on his birthday or Black History Months? And that is why we as revolutionaries, we do not talk about our heroes on the Black History Months. How long do we talk about Nelson Mandela? How long do we talk about Malcolm X? We don't even talk about Malcolm X, or they do not even talk about Malcolm X, because Malcolm X consciousness was different from that of their consciousness. How often do we talk about Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Sekou Touré, Kwame Touré? How often do we talk about them? We wait for one month in a year. And we don't even talk to them. We don't even talk about them towards our generation or our children or our brothers and sisters. All we do is we take them and go to the colonialist stores and go buy print out teachers that they have printed out there in the stores just for that one day. They pretend that they love Malcolm X and they put Malcolm X t-shirt and then we go buy it, give them money, put the money into their pockets. Just that one day. This was a conference here, 1883. As they were planning to divide Africa, they were also hosting conferences. Teach the nigger to forget their heroes and to adore only ours. We still do it to their society. I see sometimes African or how they call it, activists on the African continent quoting people like Abraham Lincoln's or James Madison's, Thomas Jefferson, quoting these people. Never present a chair to a black that come to visit you. Don't give him more than one cigarette. Never invite him for dinner, even if he gave you a chicken every time you arrive at his house. Now, this was how this person that brought this got this speech. If not, we was not going to get it. So you may want to wonder how this speech was kept. But listen here. The above speech will show the real intention of the Christian missionary. Now, listen. That's why I said, black people, y'all will not go heaven if y'all die. If y'all believe the white man heaven, I don't think y'all go to the white man heaven. Yes, African people, you will not go to the white man heaven. Let me answer this call quick. Sorry. All right, sorry, folks. Today is a very busy day. I just have to accept certain calls. All right, so let's see how this speech or this letter in a conference as they were dividing Europe, Africa among themselves, all European nations were also training their army, their missionary to go on the African continent. Okay, so if you are a Christian that believe in a white doctrine, I don't think you will go to heaven because, like I said, you will be discriminated against. You will not go heaven. Okay? So you better start finding your African heaven. You better start finding your African heaven. Okay? Because if that's the case, I don't think the Indian that is not Christian will go heaven. So where the Indian people will go? The Indian got their own heaven. So the Chinese that believe in Buddhism, right? They will go to their own heaven. You are not. So I don't know whether you understand it. Why can't you believe in your own doctrine, your own heaven? So how did African come to find this letter? Now listen to this. The above speech will show the real intention of the Christian missionary journey in Africa was exposed to the world by Mr. Munkuni Bukako from Congo, born in the Congo in 1915. He was born in Congo in 1915, and who in 1935, while working in the Congo, bought a second-hand Bible. He bought a second-hand Bible from a Belgian priest. That's how this note was discovered. He bought a second. Just imagine a priest in the 1900s still hold on to this. Do you think? And he was a Belgian priest. Let's listen to this now. This conference was done in the 1800s. And then in the 1900s, another Belgian priest in the Congo had this doctrine, this conference letter that was taught in the 1800s. This priest had it. So this priest as well learned this. That's why he had it. So, in other words, he was still teaching the white man doctrine. So, this Congolese was born in 1915. And then in 1935, while working in Congo, bought a second-hand Bible from a Belgian priest who forgot, listen to this, he forgot the speech in the Bible. So that means this Belgian priest in the 1900s, he also had this letter from the 1800s from King Leopold. So he was also teaching other missionaries in the 1900s that this was what that was taught in the 1800s. So in this 1900s, we are still carrying on the doctrine. We are still teaching the doctrine of the 1800s. So this Belgian priest was teaching other missionary, other Western missionary, this doctrine. So that's how he found it. So he bought a second-hand Bible from a Belgian priest who forgot the speech in the Bible. Well, listen to what he said here, and I'm going to read the whole thing because I got to get to the next story. Now, he said, we should note that one, all missionaries carry out and still carry out that mandate. We are only lucky to have found King Leopold's articulation of the aim of all Christian imperialist missionary to Africa. They may have found the Bible, right? They may have bought the Bible with this King Leopold conference letter in it that he bought from another priest, Belgian priest. This is what he said. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is what he's saying, that all missionaries carry out in the past and still carry out today that mandate. We are lucky, we are only lucky to have found the King Leopold articulation of the aim of all Christian imperialist missionary to Africa. Even the African convert who today manage the older churches in Africa, the priest, the bishop, the archbishop, the cardinal, etc., of the Roman and Protestant, and especially all those who evangelize born again Christian, still serve the same mandate. You know what? I'm done with this. Let me take this out. I don't want to see this again. Yes. Still serve the same mandate. Really? So, African, tell me, are you going to go to heaven? Are you waiting for heaven? So King Leopold is waiting for you in heaven. Okay? So keep preaching. King Leopold is waiting for you in heaven, for you to go there and then see whether you will enter that heaven, whether you will enter King Leopold heaven, because he's waiting for you to go. So die and go. So keep weeping and go. Die poor so that you can inherit the heaven. King Leopold is waiting for you. Don't be rich, because the rich man will not enter the kingdom of heaven. Okay? So die poor, because God make your African continent rich so that you can die poor. God make your African continent rich so that somebody can come and oppress you and deprive you and enslave you, decolonize, humanize you and so forth, right? So that you can go to heaven. If God wanted you, if the Creator wanted you to suffer, He was never going to make your continent the richest continent on earth. He was never going to put you in a part of the world if He wanted you to die poor. Because the only means to go to heaven, so they're telling you here, the Christian Bible, the Women Bible is telling you the only way you can go to heaven is to be poor. Yeah. The only way you can go to heaven is to be poor. And they put those things there purposely for their interest, so that you will have the belief that with the resources we have, I do not want to fight for the African resources. Let them take it. Because I don't even care. When I go heaven, I will live good life. When I go heaven, I will enjoy myself. Let me suffer on earth right now. Let me suffer here. And then when I go heaven, my riches are in heaven. I will enjoy with the Lord. Who is the Lord? The same man that discriminate against you here on earth is the same man who is in heaven as the Lord. Do you expect to go live with that man in heaven? If there is one waiting for you. So sit down here and die poor, let somebody exploit you when they want to. Keep weeping as they put in the Bible. For heaven wait for you. For the kingdom of God is for those who weep. And that's the case. The continent was never going to be the richest continent. It was going to be they. And let me say this for once. And for sure, the creator of the earth was white. He was going to make the African continent poor. And make the Western world rich. And make the Caucasian land rich. And make America the richest. North and South, let's say North America the richest, Europe the richest. If the creator was a white man, he was going to make the African continent poor. So let's get to the next one. I'll leave that. So please, African pastors, do not go be preaching that kind of words to our people. Blessed are the poor. Blessed. How God going to bless you and then make it poor again. How God going to bless your continent? How the Creator going to bless your continent as the blessed continent among the 7 continents? And then you say again, you poor. That's what the Bible says. For lack of knowledge, my people suffer. My people perish. Because how am I going to make you rich? And then somebody come and tell you, no, be poor. That's the only way you'll go heaven. Because your riches are in heaven. When I already make you rich. I already make you rich. If I wanted to make you rich in heaven, I was not going to make the African continent the richest continent. Because for each time there's improvement in technology, they discover new resources, they discover new things. Then how? Let's get to the next topic. So, folks, nobody should come to you to preach that kind of words to you. Keep weeping for the kingdom of God await you. Keep weeping. The kingdom of God is awaiting you. Just keep weeping. The rich man will not go to heaven. Don't bother yourself being rich. Leave the African resources to them. Let them continue to exploit you. God will judge them. Eh? I'm done. Hallelujah for that. Amen. Let's get to the next one. The next one here, we're going to Tanzania. Okay? We are going to Tanzania. And this again resonates. This again resonates to what I just spoke about. Okay? This resonates to what I just spoke about as we go to Tanzania, as we transition to Tanzania. Can we say John Magufuli dream went in vain? Yes. John Pombo Magufuli dream for Tanzania and for the African people. Gone in vain. Let's see something here. Let me pull it out. Okay, folks. Here, first of all, when John Magufuli was in power in Tanzania, even the local people themselves, they benefited from their resources, from their raw material. John Magufuli bought diamond from the local people. They enjoy it. They touch it. They feel it. But again, somehow, some means, they kill him and they say he died from a coronavirus. So quickly. Let's see here. The title here, this is from the African News, okay? So the title here says, record-breaking Tanzania Rubik exposed in Dubai. Why would it be exposed in Dubai and not even on the African continent? That alone to say, not even in Tanzania. Why in Dubai? Why overseas? Why in foreign land? And by the way, this goes to all African nations. Even though I'm pointing finger on Tanzania. But what happened in Tanzania is what happened in Liberia, is what happened in Ghana, is what happened in Nigeria, Togo, Mali, Senegal, Gambia, Nigeria, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Mali, Sudan, and the list goes on. Is what exactly happening in those African nations. Let's read here, and then I'll play this video so that you will see as well. Now, it says here, it says, the magnificent gemstone, which weighed 2.8 kilometers, was presented to the public for the first time Friday in Dubai. Now, the public, not even the Tanzanian, not even to the people in Tanzania, but in Dubai, that's the kind of public. But let's read here. Patrick Belletti, the managing director of the company exposing the record-breaking ruby, was happy to finally unveil the stone. This is a rough ruby from Tanzania. It's 8,400 carats. It is not heated. This is he speaking. It is not heated. What I mean by not being heated is not being treated. So it is natural, and that's why it is precious. He's the one speaking. We are going to auctions 8, but before the auctions for the next 30 days, we will be actually traveling Dubai in different locations where everybody can see it. Not even traveling in Tanzania for the people to see. Because you know what? They want for the Tanzanian people to be blind. They want for the African people to be blind. This is what King Leopold said. Do not teach the people of what they have. Do not make them conscious. Because they will come against us. I think I spoke about this before. When I talk about like America, their behavior in Liberia. The same thing. So all the colonial masters, they had the same agenda and the same plan. Okay? And other people are using it as well in this 21st century. So you're revealing it to the public. The public he's talking about, or they're talking about the people of Dubai. So people in Tanzania, the Tanzanian people have not even seen this. They do not, most of them do not even know about this unless corrupt government officials and few entities. He said, because it is important to show that it really exists. You can Google these images, but you are not sure whether they are real or not. In a nutshell, he was trying, or they are trying to say, even African people, they are not knowledgeable of such things. So they can even Google it. They won't even know whether it's a precious stones. They can even walk their land and see these precious stones, but they will not even know if they are precious stones, if they are worth millions of dollars, because they are not knowledgeable of it. And that is what they do exactly. They do not want to teach African people of what they have. Let's continue here. John Magufuli dream have been wasted. According to the mineral experts, so these are mineral experts. According to the mineral expert, the Greenwich and Purplish stone could be auctions for 120 million United States dollars. 120 million United States dollars. So, folks, let me ask a question. So, can these people, out of this $120 million, right? These people can take $20 million and can't give it to Tanzania and say they're giving it. And this is what they've been doing to the African continent. They rob the African continent, and that is why sometimes I get so pissed off and so angry with African authorities. These people will take $20 million and come and give it to Tanzania, the Tanzanian people. And you will see some of the people even in authority, they are not even aware of these things. And then they will sit down there and believe that these people, these business people, these are investors that are coming to Africa. And they will come with this $20 million, acting that it is their own money. And then they are coming to invest. Oh my God. They are coming to invest in Tanzania. They are coming to invest in those African nations. Meanwhile, it's just one precious stone, just one stone. One that costs $120 million, just one. But out of the 120 million, they will keep the 100 million in their bank. And then they take the 20 millions and then go to Tanzania, acting that they are investors. And that is what they do, not just Tanzania, but this is what they do in African countries. So they will take $20 million and go to African country, acting that they are investors coming from overseas. Acting that they are coming to give aid to Africa. But now it is our own resources. Because of the lack of knowledge, my people will perish. Because of the lack of visions, leaderships, my people will perish. Just one stone, experts say a worth $120 million. Imagine 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of these precious stones. Listen what it says here. In Africa, Kenya, Mozambique, and Tanzania are one of the main ruby producing countries. But then look at Africa's. Just one precious stone. Folks, look at these things. So it is what we're going to do so that we leave this thing and go to heaven. So this is what we'll do. Leave them and go to heaven. So all these people are getting millions of dollars, getting rich out of our own resources, will not go heaven. They will not go heaven. They won't go heaven. Their heaven is earth. So we sit down and look at these things, and then we say no, and then we want to go heaven. This is what, folks, do not equip African situation or problem into your Bible. Please leave your Bible outside of African situation when we're trying to fight for solution. Do not come and tell us, say, let's just pray. God will answer. There are certain things you don't have to equip it with prayer. And these are some of the things. So let's watch the video and see.
A marvel for the eyes. This is Burj Al Hamar, one of the world's biggest rough ruby from Tanzania. The magnificent gemstone, which weighs 2.8 kilograms, was presented to the public for the first time Friday in Dubai. The managing director of the company exposing the record-breaking ruby was happy to finally unveil the stone.
This is a rough ruby from Tanzania. It's 8,400 carats. It's not heated. What I mean by not heated is not being treated. So it's natural, and that's why it's precious. We're going to auction it, but through the auction, for the next 30 days, we'll be actually traveling Dubai in different locations where everybody can see it. Because it's important to show that it really exists. You can Google these images, but you're not sure that they're real or not.
According to minerals experts, the greenish and purplish stone could be auctioned for $120 million. In Africa, Kenya, Mozambique, or Tanzania are some of the main ruby-producing countries. If the gemstone is not affordable for all to buy, visitors can at least capture the stone with their smartphones.
That's it right there for this presentation for this part of Tanzania. And it goes to all the African nations. So what happened in Tanzania, this is what exactly happening to the rest of the African nations. These people, they are not investors. Imagine one stone, one precious stone costs 120 million United States dollars. Just one. And then they would take the 100 million and then leave it in their country. And then take the $20 million, go to Africa. The same money, the same thing they took from you and then bring $20 million. And then you see them as investor. You see them as foreigner. No. They come to exploit you. It was just your money that they took, just your resources that they took. These people do not have money to give you. We need to start letting foreigners to take hold of our resources. Let's take control of our thing, of our own. That is why the Creator blessed us, so that we can be the blessed people on earth. If He made your continent the blessed continent among the 7 continents, that means you are to be the blessed people among the 7 continents, the blessed people on earth. That means you are the chosen ones. That's why He chose to bless you that way. That means you are not the neglected one. If you neglect someone, you don't bless them. Yes, I said I will preach this morning. If you neglect someone, you don't bless them. If you reject someone, you don't bless them. So this is it. It is time that we get away with those colonial mentality, because we are still carrying on those colonial practices, those colonial mentality. It is time we organize. It is time we get together. It is time we recognize what we have and take charge, full control of what we have. It is time we realize that these people, they are not investors. These people, they don't give aid. They don't give us nothing. We give to them. It is time we realize that they live on us. They are parasites. They are parasitic elements that feed on African peoples. We don't feed on them. They feed on us. It is time we show to them. It is time that we say to them, no more manufacturing our resources or exploiting our resources and taking it to overseas. Because what they show here in Dubai, trust me, they didn't show it to the Tanzanian people before carrying it in Dubai. Because you know what would have happened? It was never going to make it out there. It was never going to go out there. And I will tell you, most of these mine area, the Africans themselves are not at the forefront. They are at the back. The foreigners are the one at the forefront, because they see these minerals and they get it from there straight to the port and overseas. They don't like African to go to the deeper part where they have the actual mineral resources. They don't. So we have to stop these things. If we want to take control of Africa, it's not just politically. It is not just president. It is not just being out there as, okay, I want to be the political leader. I want to be the senator. I want to be the representative. We need everything. And this is where economic fall. Let's get to the next stage. We must organize right now. And I tell African, you do not have to wait for your lawmaker to say they have to go to the Senate or to the House to go pass law. Traditional leaders, put your people together in your counties. The villages, that's your village. That's your mountain. That's your hill. That's your land. Post talk to them. We do not have to wait for these lawmakers, these presidents. Mobilize our people. Protect your land. Let's get to the next stage. The next stage here, we will be coming to the immigration policies now. Now we're coming to the topic, okay? All right, we're coming to the topic now, the immigration. So let me put that out. All right. So let me say this first. When I was doing research on this topic, right, I found basically a lot of statements made from the UN, the United Nations High Commission, or something international, right? Okay. But I didn't really pay much attention to what they were saying, because for me, I don't have interest in it. What the UN will say. I don't have interest in what the UN will say. Because you know why I don't have interest? I do not have interest in what the UN will say, because the UN, I would say, is the cause of the crisis, of the many crises we see around the world. The UN is the cause of refugee status around the world. Because you know why the UN is the cause? Because the UN is not an independent entity. The UN do not hold those responsible who caused the chaos, who create the chaos. The UN does not hold those responsible who create the platform for refugees or for the causes of refugees. If the United Nations was serving as an independent entity to hold responsible and carry those who go in other people's countries to create chaos, to invade them, to destabilize them, then you won't just find countries around here proliferating, going around invading other people's countries, and then saying they are there for special military operations. But because those that go in those countries for special military operation in their favor are the same people that control the United Nations, that is why I don't trust them. And that is why I don't listen to them when they try to criticize something. I found it so laughable for the United Nations to even come out to criticize the UK Rwanda immigration policies. That is not to say I am speaking for the UN or for the UK Rwanda immigration policy, which I'm going to get into it. But I'm just telling you that it was laughable to me. I'm just telling you that they were not speaking in the interest of African people. Because if the United Nations was doing their job as an independent entity, we wouldn't be here today talking about refugee crisis. But because the United Nations gave the courage to people to go and invade other people's countries for fake democracy that they never create, invade other people's countries for their selfish interests, and say they are there carrying on special military operation. Recent what we saw in Libya, and the United Nations never talked about the crisis in Libya. And the crisis in Libya was because of the cost of NATO. And that led to more immigrants traveling Europe. I was waiting for the United Nations to condemn that action in Libya. But rather, they said NATO was there to carry on special military operation. That is why we don't trust the United Nations. That is why whenever they speak sometimes on human rights, it becomes laughable. Let's continue here. Now, the title says, in fact, I got this from France 24 News, okay? Now, the title says, Boris Johnson's plan to send asylum seeker to Rwanda contradict the Geneva Convention, or undermine the Geneva Convention. Now, the UK plan to send asylum seeker to Rwanda has been denied, have been decried by NGO as well as the UN Refugee Agency, which has criticized the plan to relocate migrants as contrary to the letter and spirit of the Refugee Convention. France 24 spoke to this issue. So let me see here. It's kind of long, but I will see where I can handle a little bit. I will read and then I will explain what is wrong with this. Okay. I have listened to other people and they see no reasons. They say it's right. Okay. But I am here to say what make it wrong. Okay. What make it wrong? All right. Prime Minister Boris Johnson on Thursday announced that some of the migrant and asylum seekers illegally entering Britain will be sent to Rwanda, with tens of thousands of people potentially making that journey in the coming years. Now, let me read a little bit. Let me read because I don't want to take much time here. Let me read. I'll just summarize and explain. From today, anyone entering the UK illegally, as well as those who have arrived illegally since January 1st, may not be relocated to Rwanda, Johnson said in a speech near the southern city of Denver. The move prompted swift backlash from the opposition politician, human rights group, that's NGO, UN, whatsoever. Let me leave that there. Now, according to the agreement, all people crossing the border illegally into the UK, around 28,000 per year, will be sent to Rwanda with their asylum application, where their asylum application will be processed from A to Z by Rwandan authority. In return, the UK will pay Rwanda a substantial sum of 120 million euro. Sorry, pound. 120 million pound and about 144 million euro per year. Now, this is completely news. We often take the exact. Let me leave that there. I don't want to talk about Australia. All right, let me just read it. This is completely news. We often take the example of Australian outsourcing its asylum process to neighboring island states such as Nauru, but the UK government goes much further. In Nauru, Australian officers process the asylum case, and the refugees are then entitled to travel to Australia. Under the UK-Rwanda agreement, asylum is entirely outsourced. If asylum is granted, refugees will not be able to go to the UK and will have to settle in Rwanda. I will explain all of that, okay? What's going on here? However, it is not clear how this will be implemented. We do not know how asylum seekers will be sent to Rwanda or how they will be treated after their arrival. Will they be placed in detention center? Will there be an appeal procedure? Will they have access to interpreter? Rwanda is not a model of human rights. So this is UN talking today. that Rwanda is not a model of human rights. I don't know when they did notice that, but we will come to that and explain a little bit, okay? Now, according to them, the agreement contradicts a silent law and a Geneva Convention to which the UK is a signatory concerning people who cross the border illegally. The Geneva Convention makes it clear that people who cross a border to seek asylum should not be sanctioned for breaking the law, even if they use smuggler. When you are fleeing a life-threatening situation in your own country, it is not always possible to apply for a visa. You have to be able to travel quickly to another country to apply for asylum. No matter how. Imagine this means that Ukrainian currently fleeing war could end up in Rwanda. Now, I will stop this here. I will explain a little bit about this and then bring out another article as to why Rwanda, let's say UK have taken this step. Now, let's see this first of all. I know many people have read this or have gotten the news, right? But this is how I came about to understand the situation, and this is how I came about to interpret the whole situations going on in UK. And this is not only going to apply to UK. Okay? Now, listen to this, folks. World War I. Where did World War I start? World War I started in the same region, Europe. Okay? Now, World War II, where did it start? World War II started in the same region, Europe. Okay. Now, what we're seeing going on right now, we're not looking at the broader pictures or the broader picture, the bigger picture. We are looking at just what we are seeing, but we are not looking beyond. What we're seeing going on right now between UK and Rwanda, trust me, other countries going to join. Okay? Listen to this. Let me see right here. Now, listen to this right here. If the UK Rwanda agreement does come into effect, we can also expect consequences for France, since asylum seeker who refuse to cross the channel into the UK will file application here instead. Okay? So this is what's going to happen. And listen to this again. If this work, that means if the if the UK and Rwanda issue work, this is what's going to happen. If this work, it is fear that other countries may be tempted to follow suit. Denmark has been discussing a similar deal with Rwanda. So this is not just UK, okay? So Denmark as well have been discussing the same similar deal with Rwanda in recent months. And the UK success on this front could prompt it to resume those negotiations. Hungary may also be interested in such policy. All right. So now let me explain to you, okay, what I think going to happen here. Now, hold on. Okay, let me just explain it. I'll bring another one. UK is already going through many situations. Okay? Now, The UK have seen something coming and they are trying to take up some preventive measures of what to come ahead. If the Ukraine and Russia war continue, we are leading to World War III. And if that happens, UK will not have that much food or resources to maintain the population in UK. So sooner for them, the better for them to get rid of people, as much as they can, to get rid of them if these things go on. And which, of course, with the approach they're taking, they do not want to make peace talk with Russia. Sooner or later, either next week, they'll be talking about the G Summit 20 that they'll be having in Washington, D.C., right? Russia is not coming. Russia is going to have it on what? Live. Okay? First of all, most NATO nations were saying that if Russia comes, they're going to boycott the G Summit. They're going to stage why the G Summit, they wasn't going to come. They wasn't going to attend. So that tells you they are not ready for peace talk. That tells you we are leading to World War III. You don't want to listen. That tells you they are leading to World War III. Because if people cannot sit down and look in one another's faces to discuss peace dialogue, it means World War III is going on. World War III is coming. So people are finding a way now to reserve what they can reserve. And in reserving what they can reserve for the population, that also means you have to get rid of people who you do not deem necessary in your country. That is what's going on right now. And that is what will continue to go on. You just heard it. If this happens, other countries as well will follow. They will get rid of people who they do not deem necessary. Because people have to keep in their resources. People have to store food. And the food they will store, it have to fit to the population because they do not know how long that war will continue. Look far behind the picture. This thing is not just about taking people from UK and saying it to Africa or saying it to Rwanda. That is not out to the picture. Look behind the picture. In order to cater to the need of the British people, if this war extends, you have to get rid of unnecessary citizens. That is what they think. Unnecessary people. Let me put it that way. Get rid of people get rid of them. Get rid of the population. Certain population from UK. Because if not, there will be food shortage. And it will be huge problem. So this is not only going to be UK. Okay? This is not only going to be UK. This is going to extend to other nations to come. Expect it to come. Because nations, NATO nations are thinking that, and that is their thinking. If they can win their war, NATO will fail and imperialism will die. It will be the last stage of imperialism. They will not survive because countries will ally with other countries that their fee will be in their interest. And then the United States now, or UK, this NATO nation, they have to go to other countries now to beg to bring their economy back to stability. Because their currencies will die. They have to use now those people currencies to bring their country back. So they are going to fight to the last. Look behind the picture. The G Summit supposed to be about national leader meeting, looking at one another's faces to talk about dialogue, to bring this thing to a rest. But if you can't do it and you say, if this person be in the meeting, You will not be there. Think. This thing is not just about sending people to Rwanda. Okay? Now, sending people to Rwanda, it also means it's going to, because these are people that are not going willingly. You forcing these people. And this is why I want to go and look at Rwanda as well. The mistake Rwanda have done. These are not people willingly leaving UK. War is not in UK as we can speak. So why will Rwanda want to go in and take people from the United Kingdom and bring them to Rwanda if there's no war in UK? I think if Rwanda you want to help people, why not go to Ukraine and get the African people that are stranded in Ukraine? If you want to help, why not go to Ukraine and help the Africans that are stranded in Ukraine? Africans that have been discriminated against in Ukraine, and bring them to Rwanda and let them stay there and continue with their education, so you have a good educational system. Help them so that they can graduate. Those who want to stay, they stay, and those who want to go back to their country after graduation, they can go back to their country and go and work. Why not do that? War is not in Ukraine. So, the United States also, the UK is also getting rid of people that came from the Middle East. Because mind you, it was not just African that went to the UK. So they are trying to get rid of people from the Middle East. They don't want them there. Maybe I would say Muslim. They don't want to use the term, but I will use that term. Because you already know the negative perception that they have. And another reason why they want to take people from there, when this Ukraine and Russia thing happened, other countries around the world that have been affected by invasion, by NATO nation invading their country wrongfully, who has suffered, and their country have been depleted by the actions of NATO, these people too are not coming out speaking into various countries that they reside in. They are not coming out speaking and saying, no, but this was the same thing NATO nation did to us. Think behind. So what they are doing now, they are telling people, instead of you coming here to seek asylum, you want to tell us what we did in your country was wrong. And you are here seeking asylum. So we better get you as saying you don't want to be on our side. Because these people are in those countries telling their people or their leaders not to support NATO, not to vote against Russia, or either stay neutral. So they are revolting against these people now. Okay, since that's the case, that's what we're going to do. Get in mind, this thing is not going to only UK alone. Other nations are going to do the same thing. They're going to get rid of people who are not following their agenda, their colonial imperialist mindset agenda. Now, this is my problem I have with Rwanda. Now, if these people travel, they will never get a chance to go back to UK. They have been denied in their lifetime. It's like you have been deported. You have been deported. You will never travel to the UK in your lifetime again. Unless in the future, the case you are born, you will have to born in Rwanda, that the case can travel now in the future. But your record will be there. That you are part of those asylum seekers, those migrants that was deported to Rwanda. Basically, you are being deported. You are being deported. And you will not get a chance to go back to UK again, to travel to UK again. Or maybe I will say to Europe again. Because our record going to be there. Your name going to be in the system. So this is my problem I have with Rwanda. If you want to help people, why did you accept money? Why did you accept money? If the United States or the United Kingdom want to help, hey, go to UK and get the people that are stranded there and tell them we have a program in Rwanda. You can put that on your website and let people apply for it. This is where people are not getting it. They're saying Rwanda is right. Let Rwanda go help the people. There is a way to help people. Put that on your website and make it public. Those in UK seeking asylum, if they feel that their asylum cannot be granted in UK, and they see that they find opportunity in Rwanda, they can apply for it. And they don't have transportation or means to fly or to leave, now you can go there for people that have applied and you accept them. You can go them and get them out of UK and carry them. But the fact that you accept money, that was wrong. You are buying people. You bought people to carry them to Rwanda. It is wrong. Carry them there freely without accepting money. If the UK government want to follow them to go help them, the UK government will follow them. Why would the UK government give that amount of money? Why not use it and give the people asylum? Give the people residence? If you show, because they have budget, they said they will give this budget every year. Okay, $120 million. They will give it every year to Rwanda. So if you can get $120 million every year to Rwanda, why you can't keep these people? If you have that budget, every year to give it to Rwanda, you can keep these people in UK and spend that money on them. But here is the thing. That budget will not be given. It's just on paper, but it will not be given every year. Maybe it'll be given the first time. Once these people arrive in Rwanda, it will be done. Once they arrive in Rwanda, that first budget will be given, and once they arrive, it's done. Because our $20 million is a $20 million given just for the government of Rwanda to accept the people. It's not going towards the people. Thank you for accepting that we will send the asylum seeker to your place. Why would they do it? Which way they do it? That's their business. So if this war continues, do you think you can have that money every year to give to Rwanda? Hell no. Look behind the picture. Look behind the picture. UK is trying to get rid of people so that she will be able to store food for her citizens if this thing continues between Russia and UK. Right now, there's a food crisis in UK. I didn't want to bring those pictures and things because I don't have interest in it. But there's a food crisis in UK. There's a few crises in UK. There are major crises in UK right now that people, the citizens are fighting. Lawmakers don't even know what to do. Boris Johnson confused. That is what's going on. So he's looking at it that if we keep these people here, it's going to be tough. We got to get rid of some population. We got to get rid of some people. Crisis is in UK. So Africa, let me say this to you. And by the way, the Ukrainian refugees are not among these people. The Ukrainian refugees are not among. The Ukrainian refugees are European. They are Caucasian. They are white people. The refugees here are just Africans who have traveled there, and people from the Middle East, and other people from South America, other Africans from South America. These are the people. They're not talking about Ukrainian refugee. They are not among. In fact, most of these things came in because of the Ukrainian refugee that they are taking as well. So as they are bringing refugee, you have to get rid of some of these people. That is what's going on here. We appreciate that Rwanda want to go into help, but Rwanda, why did you make deal before going into help? Go in if you want to help. Why you go collect money? Why did you go collect money? Go in. You want to help? Put it on your website and let people see it and let people apply, and then you can go for them. Understand the situation that they are way in UK. War is not in UK. They are way in UK. They don't have the means to travel to Rwanda. And then get in plane and go and get them. Once you get there, you already have that document. You already get it and know and tell them where they should be to the airport at a certain time. They get there, you get a document, you get all their picture and thing. You get there, you put it on plane and carry them. But then to go sign deal with the UK government, $120 million pound every year to give to you. You think that $120 million pound will come to you every year? Why should you always focus on money? Why African people, African leaders, why should you always focus on money? And for that, Rwanda has even stopped migrants from other African nations. Other African nations who want to go to Rwanda. Rwanda has stopped it because they feel that they're not getting money from those places, so they have stopped. But guess what? That money Boris Johnson has promised you to give to you every year that you are going for is not going to be every year. You will receive the first budget, but that's it. It's not going to come every year. Why would they want to give you $120 million every year for people that they want to get rid of their country, so that they can reserve food, they can reserve their national whatsoever and thing, treasure, and then they will be taking it and be sponsoring people in Africa with it? Who told you that? What can you think? My solution here is, even as that, they're not telling you what they're trying to do. You better start investing in agriculture, and that go to all the African leaders and African authority. It's a warning. They're sending a signal that it's not going to be easy. It's going to be tough. And that's what they are trying to do now. You better start investing in food production. Just an example, all African nations are being dependent on Ukraine for wheat. Ukraine no longer sending it. All of us sitting down there. And then I see the last time in Liberia, people running all around, food shortage. Oh, no food. Oh, no this. How can the blessed continent with resource all year round that you can grow food, and then you backing a nation, you depending on a nation that only has 6 months to grow food, and then all of 6 months it comes with snow and ice, and they only got a few months where they got sun to shine and then to grow food, 6 months to grow food. But you have 12 years, let's say 12 months, a whole year to grow food. And then you depend on a man that only has 6 months to grow food. Does it make sense? And I see Liberia the last time people there, oh, we're hungry. And then they're running all on the street, asking the government to reduce rice. Can you go make food? Why should we always depend on people? The people that got 6 months to grow food, you got 12 months all year round. All year round. These people, they don't have all year round to grow food. They have season. But for you, you do not have season. All year round, you will grow food. That's how blessed the Creator make your continent. Like I said, I want to preach this morning. That's how blessed the Creator make your continent. All year round, you grow food. The Western world, most places, they only got 6 months to grow food. The rest of the year, that ice, that snow, they can't grow nothing. Everything died down. You got 12 months all year round to grow food, but you depend on the people. What should that be? And then people are running all on the street, asking the government. And then when the government reduce the rest process, oh yeah, the government ain't got rest. And then politician then. How can a politician in the country even want to preach about politics on that? Politicians use that as a politics to maneuver into power. And when they get there, they're going to do the same thing. They're not going to invest in agriculture. They're going to do the same thing. And another politician to come and use that as a way of maneuvering themselves into politics. That's a shame to even see like African politician using that as a means to get in political power. What a shame. Oh, no rest in the country. No, who's supposed to bring rest in the country? Overseas? You think right now China want to send rest in Africa? The Chinese, you know how many population they got there? The Chinese will preserve their rights for the Chinese, for their citizens. They will not send rights. The Taiwanese, they will preserve their rights for their citizens because of the crisis. They don't know how long it's going to be. And you got all year round, you can grow any kind of food on the African continent and grow. And then you sit there and depend on government to go to Taiwan, China, Russia, or Ukraine to send food to you. This is the time. We need to grow food. We need to be agriculturally self-independent. Food should be grown on the African continent. Grow what we eat and stop, because every little time there's a disaster the African continent suffers the most because we do not produce. We get what other people want to give us, which is bad. Which is bad. And that is why Rwanda have to go collect money from people. Because the people that come in, how you going to feed them? You don't have that agricultural system. How you going to feed them? That's why you have to go get money from people. You say you're not happy. You're just doing exchange. You're exchanging. The British give you money, and the British send an asylum seeker to your country and waste them there and deposit them there. You exchanging. You are not helping the people. You say you're going there to bring them because the people are not coming with a body man. The people are being deported. You are not helping the people. You exchanging them with money. You getting money in return of them. You give money, and then they bring the people and deposit them there. Because for that, you stop helping other people from other African countries that are suffering from proxy wars. So these are the things we go through. You see? These are the things we go through. Sorry, folks, I didn't even share the article, and I kept talking, and I thought I'd share it. So these are the things we go through. So Rwanda, you are wrong, and you are wrong for doing that. You want to help the people, do not accept money. The fact that you accept money, that's not help, because you did not go there willingly to do it. And that money you accept is not going to be used for the people. You accept it, and they bring them, and they deposit them, and leave them there. Okay, so let's see another one here. So let's see here. Okay. Now, Human Rights Watch was fiercely criticized of the plan, issuing a strong war statement. Now, Rwanda appealed in human rights record is well documented. Said now, Rwanda has a known track record of extrajudicial killing, suspicious death in custody. So it's today that human rights advocate from the United Nations know these things, right? Now, suspicious killing or suspicious death in custody, unlawful or arbitrary detention, torture, and abusive prosecution, particularly targeting critics and dissident. In fact, the UK directly raised its concern about respect for human rights with Rwanda and grant asylum to Rwandan. That was UK then. Now, and grant asylum to Rwandan who have fled the country, including four just last year. It said, adding, at a time when the people of the UK, now, at a time when the people of the UK have opened their hearts and home to Ukrainian, the government is choosing to act with cruelty and rip up their obligation to other fleeing war and prosecution. So like I said, this is what exactly happened. They are saying it's better we take African from here, people who are coming from South America, people who are coming from the Middle East who want to seek asylum. It's better we take them out and bring the Ukrainian and bring white people in and take the other people in. You remember when the whole thing started first, what did they say? Ukrainians are dying, the people that are so close to God, or they are blonde hair, brown hair, or whatsoever, or they're not supposed to die. They're wondering if a wild war got to happen in Ukraine, and so forth. White people not so die, white people wanna, all of those things, right? They are still acting on it. If we can bring Ukrainian in, we have to take out other people who want to seek asylum. That's what they say here. At a time when the people of the UK have opened their hearts and homes to Ukrainian, the government is closing to act with cruelty and rip up their obligation to other fleeing war and prosecution. I leave this right here. Okay, so you are seeing that. So this whole thing is not, you have to look behind the picture. Yeah, look behind the picture. So for me, I don't have problem Rwanda going in to help African and other people. But the fact that Rwanda, you did not do it on your own. You sat and waited for the UK government to come and give you money. You are not doing it on your own. You are doing it in exchange. You did not go on your immigration website to publish it that we want to help asylum seeker in the UK who are being rejected by the UK government because she's accepting Ukrainian citizens, and now she's rejecting other asylum seeker who fled their country due to war, right? We want to go into help. That is not on your website. You did not publish that on your website or your immigration website and asking people in UK to apply. People who want to leave the UK to come to Africa or to come to Rwanda to apply for it, and you will be going for them maybe in the next month or next 3 months. Or your embassy in UK are not interviewing people who want to leave the UK to seek asylum in Rwanda. Those are the things you should have done. But no, you did not do it. But you went and signed a deal with Boris Johnson for money. That is not a help. You are also helping to deport people who will not again ever in a lifetime go to Europe or go to UK because they will be deported. They are being deported to Rwanda. So that's the place. Rwanda, you got it wrong. I'm not saying Don't help people. I'm not saying don't help people from the Middle East or don't help Africans who have traveled or don't help people who are stranded in UK who are trying to seek asylum, but the UK government is not giving it to them or will not give it to them. That's not what I'm saying here. But the fact that you collect that money, you are corrupt. You did not do it on your own. The fact that you did not put it on your immigration website, you are corrupt. You did not do it on your own. The fact that your embassy in UK do not have it on your website, and your embassy in UK is not recruiting people or asking people, look, listen, if the UK government does not want to grant you asylum seeker, Rwanda can do it. We can give it to you. Come to Rwanda. Come for interview. You're not doing it. You are corrupt. And that is where we lose confidence in you. You are a neo-colonialist puppet who wait for money. That's my area I have with you. And this is why it's racist. This is why we call it racist. It's complete racism. It's against the code of seeking asylum. You forcing people to go to an area where they never dream of going because you did not ask them. It should have been on your website where you will make it public and let people go there and apply. War is not in UK. Let people go there and apply. And then they can go to your embassy for interview in UK. And then you can go and carry plane and put it in it, and then when they carry them to Rwanda. But you are depriving people from going to a place. You did not ask them whether they want to come to Rwanda. You did not ask them whether they want to come to Africa. You did not ask them. But you're not willing to ask them, and you're never going to ask them because you want money. This is why it's difficult, and this is why these European nations, European countries, they don't believe in African leaders. They don't trust African leaders. They don't see you as a leader. They don't see you as ruler. They see you as people who you can be control. They see you as people who are weak-minded. They see you as people who don't think before doing things. Don't think I'm harsh, but I am telling you that's how they view you because of the decision most of the time most of you make. Why you follow money? What are money going to do? They tell you they're going to give you 120 million pound every year. It's not going to happen. If they have that money, they will retain the people in UK. If they have that money to give you every year, they will retain it in UK. Well, let's look at a recording here, a video here, and then we'll call it for a day. Let me see here. Yeah. You done? No, almost done. Okay. Let me hurry up quick.
Our next story is about the United Kingdom, which gave the world the most number of Independence Days. No kidding here. The British colonized half the world. They ruled a total of 65 nations. It's been centuries. Their empires have crumbled, but their colonial mindset has not. Let me tell you why we say this. The United Kingdom has introduced a new scheme, a scheme to send asylum seekers to Rwanda. A scheme Britain's Home Secretary has proudly described as a world first. Critics, however, describe it as inhumane and evil. We'll discuss that in a bit. First, the story. On Thursday, Priti Patel, Britain's Home Secretary, traveled to Rwanda's capital. She met the country's foreign minister and signed a new agreement on migration, a pact to provide immigrants a one-way ticket to Rwanda. Here's how it will work. the UK asylum seekers will be packed onto the next ship or flight and sent to Rwanda, a country located 4,000 miles away in Central Africa. Once there, the fate of these migrants, whether they get to stay or leave, will be decided under Rwandan laws and by the Rwandan government. And even if the migrants win asylum, they will only be able to stay in Rwanda for just 5 years, post which they will have to find shelter elsewhere. Speaking about the scheme, the British Home Secretary called it the world's first such plan, which will make the immigration system fairer. You must listen to this.
And today, our approach as two outward-looking countries has led to the signing of a new international partnership, which is a world first. It is a migration and economic development partnership with the country of Rwanda and the UK. Working together, the United Kingdom and Rwanda will help make the immigration system fairer, ensure that people are safe, and enjoy new opportunities to flourish. We have agreed that people who enter the UK illegally will be considered for relocation to Rwanda to have their asylum claims decided.
The Prime Minister of the UK is also quite excited about this deal. Delivering an address in Kent, Boris Johnson called it an innovative approach which will disrupt the business model of smugglers. Listen in.
So from today, our new migration and economic development partnership will mean that anyone entering the UK illegally, as well as those who have arrived illegally since January the 1st, may now be relocated to Rwanda. This innovative approach, driven by our shared humanitarian impulse and made possible by Brexit freedoms, will provide safe and legal routes for asylum while disrupting the business model of the gangs.
Now, here's the thing. The UK has every right to deport illegal immigrants, but sending asylum seekers to one of the world's poorest countries with one of the worst records on human rights violations is simply cruel. From Britain's opposition to human rights groups, even the United Nations, everyone has condemned the scheme and called it inhumane. Keir Starmer, the Labour Party leader, has called the plan extortionate and unworkable. He says not only will it ruin the lives of asylum seekers, but will also cost British taxpayers billions of pounds. Jeremy Corbyn, the former Labour leader, says the plan is shameful and beyond cruel. They have both described it as a political tool to distract the British citizens from the country's current political mess. The UN Human Rights Council has also issued a statement. It says people fleeing persecution deserve compassion and empathy. They should not be traded like commodities. It has also warned the UK that such a deal will only magnify risks, causing refugees to seek alternatives and unsafe routes. A number of human rights activists have also spoken. They have drawn parallels between the UK's plan and a similar plan that was drawn out by Australia. They say such schemes only inflict huge amounts of cruelty on the migrants rather than rehabilitating them.
We have years of evidence from Australia about precisely this policy measure, which has done nothing to stop people coming to Australia seeking asylum, has inflicted a huge amount of cruelty on a relatively small number of people, basically imprisoned for years and years on islands in the South Pacific, and all at enormous cost to the Australian taxpayer.
Despite the criticism, the Boris Johnson government remains unrelenting. It says it has already paid the Rwandan government $158 million upfront. What is this money meant for? It is going to be used to pay for housing and integration of the migrants. Now, here's the thing. There is no guarantee if this money will be used to help the migrants. There's also no guarantee if the migrants will be treated fairly. Like I said, Rwanda's record on human rights is abysmal, and one does not have to look far to find evidence. The United Kingdom has itself condemned Rwanda on numerous occasions. January 2021, UK's Director General for Europe told the UNHRC that his country remains concerned about Rwanda's continued restrictions on civil and political rights. Then in July 2021, UK's International Ambassador for Human Rights appeared before the same body and expressed regret that Rwanda was not conducting a transparent and credible probe into allegations of human rights violations. The same United Kingdom now expects Rwanda to rehabilitate refugees. There could not be a better example of British hypocrisy. Much like the United States, it claims to be the torchbearer of diversity, a civilized society which believes in inclusion. Its actions, however, tell a very different story. Beyond
All right, so you listen to what the video had discussed here. So the United Kingdom have those narrative about Rwanda. So then, why would the United Kingdom send people for asylum seeker, to seek asylum in Rwanda if they have the history that they said that the narrator, explained over there about Rwanda? Why would they want to send people there? And you heard it as well. What makes these things racist or discriminatory is that why would you bring in UK refugee, the same asylum seeker, because Ukrainian are fleeing to UK because of war. And that's how other people left from their country because of war. So if Ukraine is invaded and people are fleeing Ukraine to UK for asylum, that's how other countries that their citizens are going to UK for asylum. People went and invaded their country. So Ukraine is invaded, other people's country are being invaded, and it all went to UK. Why would you leave Ukrainian in UK and try to deport other people who fled their country due to the sea invasion to Rwanda, and you leave Ukraine out? This is well is discriminatory. This is well is racist. Okay, so you cannot keep the Ukrainian who fled their country due to war, due to somebody invading them, and you sending other people out of UK, and you're not giving them asylum who other people invaded their country as well. Okay, so and this is why I get problem. Like I said, and I will say it again with Rwanda. You do not have to accept money if you wanted to help. And let me address something here. Stefan said, let me see here. Stefan said, Rwanda got it right. EU, those are the one that is responsible or that are responsible for displacement due to the war they started in Africa. So they have to pay for relocation. Now, Stefan, this repatriation process that they have started is not just Africa, okay? It's not just African. These are people from the Middle East as well. These are people from the Middle East. These are people from South America, nations that have been invaded by NATO nations. So these are not just people, African living from Africa going to seeking refuge in Europe. No, these are people who are left other countries from the Middle East and are in UK trying to seek asylum in UK. So these are not just African. So these are a lot of people. Okay, these are a lot of people. And by the way, those that have caused the war in those places that people are living from there, this is not the way they should pay back. This is not the way. So I understand your point that, these are the nations that caused the problem. So these are the people that's supposed to fix it. If that's the way, then this is not the way they're supposed to fix it. And this is not the way they're supposed to relocate people. If you want to relocate these people, first give them asylum, give them status, give them people in your country. Then go to their country that you destabilize. Go to their country, make the place a stable country, a stable nation, build housing unit for them there, provide opportunity, build their schools and infrastructure that you have destroyed, and then relocate them. Then that is relocation. Then that is paying back what you have destroyed. But you cannot destroy people nation and then you relocate them into another country and then pay that people, pay that president or that authority for getting these people. That's not how you pay back for nation that you have destroyed, civilization that you have destroyed, culture that you have destroyed. These people took centuries, decades upon decades, centuries upon centuries to develop what they call their form of civilization, and you destroy it. This is not a way to relocate them. If you want to relocate them, give them startup first in your country, and then go to their country that you destroy, their civilization you destroy, their educational system, their culture, build their civilization back, build their institution back, and then relocate them. Then we will know you're doing something. But do not go bribe another country and then send these people that gave them one-way ticket, and then you say you're trying to relocate people. That's not how to relocate. So if that's the case, then we have to define what relocation is. And then maybe that could be another topic for another day that we will talk about when we talk about relocation. Okay? So we understand here, they are the people that caused the problem, but that's not how to relocate people. Okay? That's bullying. You bullying people and then you say you relocating them. That's not relocation. You bullying people and then you give them one-way ticket. That's bullying. You bullying people. So folks, I have to go somewhere. So there was the last video actually, and thank you for being on. Again, I will try to see you people next week Friday as usual as we can do. If not this coming Friday, but I think I did an announcement before that I want all of us to participate, all of us to discuss that if Africa, with all what Africa have been through, from the 1600, from slavery, colonialism, neo-colonialism, for everything that we have been through, right? If we are to have one world order today, and which of course the one world order been going on, okay? But if we are to have one world order today, what will the position of Africa be based on how Africa and African people, are being treated? If not this Friday, maybe next Friday or something, but I will try by all means. This Friday, I will try to work behind the scene with my team or with the team to see if I can be able to coordinate that. If not, then I will have to postpone it. We'll have to discuss something different, and I'll postpone it to another Friday. Okay, but yeah, if we are to have one world order, what will Africa be? What will be the position of Africa? What will Africa? How will African people be treated? Okay, and so forth. So other than that, thank you for sharing and continue to share. We want for the subscription to go out, subscribe, and ask people to subscribe. Thank you for your donation as well. Continue to go on our website, read our article that we put there, and take advantage of various announcements out there by Tianin, by Inkimba, and so forth. And thank you for your donation, and thank you for being our patron as well. And go on our website. You can send your donation there, rechargejournalism.org. On our page, you can send in your donation. Once again, thank, and I will see you all next week. Peace.